A lot of the strikes going on in Hollywood is about AI, and now we're just kind of getting some ruling on this from a case that kind of involves AI artwork. So, AI created works cannot be copyrighted, U.S. judge determines amid Hollywood strikes. So, Judge Beryl Howell stated that human authorship is a bedrock requirement of copyright in a decision that could affect the ongoing strikes. Now, I think that's a little bit presumptuous to say that this could affect the ongoing strikes. I mean, maybe to a certain extent, but it's not as much as what we're seeing with the strikes going on right now. But let me just jump into the article a little bit. So, as reported by Rolling Stones, a federal judge has now ruled that artwork made entirely by artificial intelligence cannot be copyright for the reasons that human authorship is an essential part of valid copyright claim. This decision could potentially work in favor of the ongoing WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes, as the ruling affirms that Hollywood studios would not be able to copyright projects created using AI. Now, a lot of this thing about the Hollywood studios using AI to create stuff, I mean, this isn't a be all end all as far as this ruling goes, because the judge also does point this out. Howell added that we are approaching new frontiers in copyright as artists put AI in their toolbox to be used in the generation of new visuals and other artistic works. The judge noted that this will prompt challenging questions about how much human input is necessary to qualify the user of an AI system as the author. And that's kind of saying, like, you can't just put a prompt into computer, push enter, and it spits out something, and then you can copyright that. I mean, you have to be a little bit more involved than simply just doing something like that. So there has to be a certain level of human involvement, and they don't know. They haven't ruled on that with this case, obviously. He just says that this case doesn't qualify, but there is probably something else to be revisited later on. Of a generated work, the scope of the protection obtained over the resulting image, how to assess the originality of AI generated works, where the systems may have been trained on unknown pre existing works, how copyright might be best used to incentivize creative works using AI, and more. And that's also another point people point out about this, about like, oh, it's trained on other works, so it's just kind of copying that, it's plagiarizing. It's like, well, an individual, let's say they're painting something and they were inspired by other paintings. I mean, they're taking in the information in their brain and then they're kind of translating that onto whatever canvas they use. So that's really not much different than a computer being trained on other images. The what's important is how transformative is it, something completely unique, or is it obviously derivative of these other works? And even if it is derivative, is it transformative enough to fall under the fair use category of those works and be fit under a copyright claim or not? And that's the thing, like, it's almost a case by case basis. You can't really say AI artwork is plagiarism or doesn't fall into copyright. I mean, then the judge even pointed that out. It's basically, like he said, it's just another tool, and it's something that's going to have to be handled. It's kind of like a person can take photographs and make it fair use, or it's an original work, or it could be a plagiarism of something else. I mean, it really just depends. And that's the point right here, is everything has to be a case by case basis. Like, another recent example that people have shown is the introduction to Secret Invasion, because they're like, oh, this is just AI produced or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, but it really wasn't as simple as they just typed in some prompts on a computer and then hit enter, and then this is what was spit out. I mean, it was literally, they would do prompts and then tweak stuff around in other editing software to get the images that they wanted. Then they combined them together and edit it so this way, and then they started adding these kind of like effects and warping and other things like that to it. So there was a little bit more to it than just pure AI. I mean, I think that's just kind of like a headline grabber that this was AI generated intro, but it really was, it wasn't that if you really look into what went into making this thing. But still, I mean, and like I said, this is just another tool in the toolbox for creating something like this. And I mean, and there's definitely an aesthetic to it. I mean, if that's what they're going for, especially given the themes of the show, I mean, I can see why they would actually choose this. So, I mean, I would actually grant that this is an artistic endeavor, the way they went about it. Black Mirror also did another, I believe it was Black Mirror at least, did an episode that was created by AI, and that was actually a point to it with the thematically with the show. So, I mean, there is a reason to do this, and I think it's fine in certain situations like this, but people will point out like, oh, well, it's taken away jobs from people and stuff like that. It's like, that's literally any technology. Go to any factory, or any, like, go to a car factory, for instance. I mean, there's machines all over the place doing jobs that people could be doing. Or even in the film industry, there's this clip I got pulled up here. to showing like, oh, there's a crowd. Oh, but no, it was a CGI crowd. I mean, or for the most part, it was just they filmed crowds in certain sections and then you just kind of replicated it all over the place just to fill out the crowd. So it's like, yeah, is that taking a job away from thousands of extras because you only had to hire a couple hundred? Yeah, you can make that argument, but still, I mean, that's just part of the business. I mean, the only legitimate claim I think a lot of the actors have is when it's talking here about them using like their image or their voice or yeah, to use to mimic actors' voices and likeness. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't just have like a voice actor come in, record some syllables and other whatever prompts they need to record so you can replicate their voice like indefinitely. But let's say if an actor is working on a project and it's like, oh wait, we in the editing you realize they missed the line. I mean, you could either bring them in and re-record something like that, or you can just use AI to actually recreate their voice for that. I mean, I think there is a discussion to be had, like, should they be allowed to do that? And I think a lot of that has to do with the contract. I mean, an actor could have a contract for like, I have to record everything myself and stuff like that, so that they're in charge of the performance of it. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answers to these sort of questions right there, but I think there is a legitimate discussion to be had about this. But for people who think that what this is all about is eliminating all AI in film productions and TV productions, no, that's not what this is about at all. And there's really nothing to it like what people think, where it's just a computer doing all the work. There's still a lot of actual people working on certain things. Like for at least, I mean, AI is just another way of saying the newest CGI technology or computer technology for movies. And I think for the most, if you put it in those terms, most people don't inherently have a problem with it. It's just AI is just kind of a scary term, so people throw that around or whatever, and that's kind of getting headlines. And like I said, there is discussions to be had about some of these things, but I think as far as this case goes, I mean, it really doesn't address it, and even the judge points that out, that it really doesn't address what's going on with the strikes. And I mean, I don't think it's gonna or at least this case isn't going to have any effect on these upcoming strikes, but I am curious to see what happens in the future. But let me know what you think about all this use of this type of technology in kind of the entertainment world. I mean, do you think it's too much? I mean, should it never be allowed, or are there some instances where you think it's okay? And if you like this video, make sure you click that like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.